Well, I feel fine right now. 100% fine. I wanted to do this video for a while. Probably more now since I've gotten closer to the date. But I'm about to go through a splenectomy and a stem cell transplant in the near future. So, splenectomy is scheduled here in about a month, and then 8 to 12 week recovery comes into what I would call a stem cell transplant to cure my myelofibrosis, the low grade myelofibrosis that I have. Um, it's really what's making this kind of tough is feeling completely fine. Yet I got to go through something so extreme, even though it's not an emergency case, it's elective. And it's good to have this in my control and be able to plan for this, right? At a younger age where I can hopefully recover back to how I feel today or even better, right? That's the goal. It's going to be a long recovery. I also turn 37 on the 5th of April. Um, so I'm already chalking it up to as year 37 is going to be kind of I wouldn't say a rebuilding year, but a pause on my life. And then year 38 would be that rebuilding year, is what I'm projecting. If everything goes well. And I don't feel like it wouldn't go well. That makes sense. And honestly, that's kind of what's tough to wrap my head around. This is me feeling so good day in and day out, pretty good routine. Of course, there's some, I don't know what good really feels like. I've been battling on this for well, diagnosed for the last 8 years, and then have monitored it and taken different medications that's made me feel a little funky from a blood count, anemia level. That I don't know what normal really feels like or what good feels like. So we'll see. The cigars are going to be on pause for a while. I've already paused drinking for the last 3 or 4 years, or I've quit, I guess, for underlying health issues that's brought on by this myelofibrosis with the clotting and the varices that can occur into my, stomach region, and alcohol not being a very good thing for that. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to keep you looking forward to things because you know what's gonna transpire, but it's you also got to maintain some positivity with it as I'm getting my life back, right? So, um, my spleen for the splenectomy, part of the disease is having a large spleen, 32 centimeters long, I guess. Who knows how wide, but it definitely takes up a lot of room in my abdomen. Just having that forever and then having that out, you know, 8 pound spleen out is definitely going to bring me some relief. I think the surgery itself is pretty self explanatory. I'm not looking forward to being cut up the midline, from breastbone to pelvic bone, and all the recovery that goes into that and strengthening back my core. Um, but again, I'm a goal oriented person too. So getting knocked down a level through this is going to strive me to work hard to get back to a position where I feel 100% or comfortable, if that makes sense. So the plan is to remove it, surgically remove it in the next month, right? And of course, I've never had any kind of surgery like this. I've had some anesthesia for wisdom teeth and colonoscopies and endoscopies, but to be spread out on the table and your abdomen cut open and moving your guts around is just not something that I would have thought would ever happen to me, I guess. That makes sense. So, I did write down a couple notes here. I don't typically do that. I like to kind of go off the cuff, but I thought, maybe there's some key points that I wanted to touch on. And the biggest thing is I look fine. I generally feel fine. It throws people off, and it's like, hey, I'm going to be out for the rest of the year. Oh, wait, what's wrong? If they don't really know me that well and I haven't really been that upfront with them because there's no need to, it does spur on a lot of different looks and thoughts, and don't always judge a book by its cover kind of deal, right? So, um, again, if someone watches this and you have questions, leave a comment. I'll answer it. I don't get that many views or subscriptions or likes. I kind of just do this for my own self therapy of talking my thoughts to the maybe to the camera or whatever it might be. Um, to me, like I wrote down here, the hardest part isn't even the surgery; it's the risk, it's the uncertainty. Especially with the stem cell transplant, it's going through a month of hospitalization for chemo and radiation and get new stem cells brought into your body, and hopefully, your body adapts to that and grows new blood cells would be fantastic, right? So that is the plan. Pretty nice day out. But it's definitely uncertainty on that standpoint. You know, um, if something goes wrong, it puts things in perspective. Making sure that I have things straightened out, through insurance wise, life insurance, living will, stuff nobody wants to ever think about, but you have to, right? You got to be prepared for the worst, but looking forward to the best, if you know what I mean. So, um, the big thing for me with could I put this off? Sure, I could probably put this off another couple years, 5 years, maybe, but you take a gamble on each time you get a bone marrow biopsy. Has the disease progressed to the point or you get symptomatic, right, or something happens to your spleen, right? You get it ruptured in car wreck or get hit, right? If you can't take medications, so I've tried different medications to shrink it and have had no success. But you take a risk of missing your window for a transplant. And it's not that I want control, but right now I think's the best time I'm going to have to do this and to be able to put my life on hold and then rebuild it back to where it's at. Um, Conflict is if, of course, you keep doing your routine. It's going to be a change up in your routine. Be going to the gym, work, being independent, and being reliant on people for a while to help me with stuff, and that makes me worried too. Is the people that I do have in my life. I don't have a spouse. I'm single. I have an ex-wife that's fairly supportive, but obviously she has her own family she has to deal with. But my parents and stuff are gonna take some time out to come up and help me, right? But they're older, and mobility isn't the greatest, and it's going to be a struggle. So I would rather recover at home, especially during the stem cell phase, just to be at home and be in my own bed and then commute to the hospital 2 or 3 days a week, however they want me there, for testing. I don't really want to live in a hotel environment there. I like to have the comforts of my home, continue some of the hobbies I've built in preparation for this, like the iRacing, sim racing, things. But again, you got to do what you got to do, right? So, uncertainty is the only thing that's certain in life. Um, Anxiety, nerves, that's natural. But you got to keep in perspective what you're doing it for, and doing it for being there for the longevity, for the future of my daughter, right? So, the biggest conflict right now is I can still do the things I want to do and do them well, like go to the gym, work, go boating, do whatever once, live a normal life. And I've chosen to kind of step into this for a bigger picture view of putting this behind me. Um, but of course, every night you lay in bed, you run through worst case scenarios, you think about different things, and you can kind of be your own worst enemy when it comes to that. So, um, I don't have it all figured out. I don't have any of it figured out. I got enough of it figured out, I guess, from taking it one thing at a time. Do the surgery, do the splenectomy, right? Splenectomy with the surgery, the recovery, gear up for the month of chemo radiation, stem cell transplant. And then after that, your next step is your 100 days of evaluation. And hopefully, you don't have an infection, right? Again, in my age and my health and stuff, I'm better apt for that. A lot of people get this disease later in life because it's just how it occurs, right? This is not genetic by no means. It's a mutation in my JAK2 gene that's producing abnormal red blood cells. And once I get this stem cell transplant, that goes away. Um, More than just in theory, it's proven, right? This is a good, you know, people do this all the time. Not necessarily for myelofibrosis, but other blood disorders and cancers. Just depending on how severe it gets. I'm taking the bull by the horn right now, I guess. So, um, but yeah, got that kind of plan. Just got to take it one step at a time. Got to figure out your recovery, and then ease into it. Listen to your physicians, your care team, um, social workers that can help you be the help. They can be the liaison between short-term, long-term disability, all the other benefits that may be involved. And they can help support you with cost of care and things like that. Again, that's second. First is the procedures and recovery, and then lastly is this. So I've done a pretty decent job with the short amount of notice that I've had to do this. I've had a longer notice, but scheduling the surgery date in the first part of the year, and just trying to plan, paying off credit card debt, saving emergency funds, because even on long-term disability, right, it's 66% of your base salary. You got to make sure you can live off that. So that's all external stressors compared to what you're going to go through and what I'm going to go through this whole ordeal. And external stressors with my family and my daughter, so it can be a lot. So one day at a time is always beneficial. One day at a time, one step at a time, right? So with that, I think I want to wrap it up. I don't want to drag this on any longer than it needs to be. But again, like I mentioned earlier, if you do watch this, if you ever been through something like this, similar like this, or you're facing it now, you know, you reach out. You know, Communities can be great. I know Facebook communities are great, but sometimes some of those Facebook communities you always hear more horror stories than you do positives sometimes. But reach out, give me a like, give me a follow, give me some words of encouragement. I'll do the same to you. Um, So with that, thank you and thanks for watching.